Hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may all be. Welcome to another podcast edition of the Daily Dime. We are your hosts. I am Seven.
And I am tapping along.
She's tapping along. Where's my soundbite? There it is. I'm 7319, and this is yours tapping along.
Very cool.
How you feeling today?
I am great, blessed, and living in the light.
I hear you, and you are visiting us. Usually you are remote from
Los Angeles.
Yeah, now we're in the studio together in the Big Apple.
Loving every minute.
Me too. It's good to see you face to face, as always.
Yes.
You know, we have a special guest on today. We want to get to know a world-renowned artist, graffiti artist, Scape. Scape, are you there?
I am here.
Hey.
Humbled to be here.
Thank you.
Glad to be here. Humbled to be here. That introduction was pretty awesome.
You like my Janet music?
That was some nice soulful house, right?
That was from Janet's last project called Night. Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis produced it. I'm like a big Prince fan, so listen, we could talk about Prince all day, but we're not going to talk about him here because we're here for you, Scape.
Well, I appreciate being here.
Thank you for taking the time out to let us know what's going on with you, Scape. Tell us about yourself. Get the audience familiar with you.
Let's see. Where do I begin, really?
Exactly. It's a lot. I saw your resume.
I'm an artist. I'm an author, muralist. Have a background in a deep background in graffiti art / street art. And originally from Newark, New Jersey, but I've spent my time in San Francisco Bay Area now, so I'm a Californian by default, I guess you could say.
Okay.
But I got my thumbprint in a lot of different mediums right now, a lot of different projects and stuff. But at the end of the day, I'm just a brown kid trying to make something happen with himself.
You're making it happen.
Yeah.
So can I ask you a question?
Always.
First of all, I'm a fan. I'm getting to know your work, and I really like it. Can you tell our listeners why you go by the name Scape?
Well, let's see. There is a science to the name Scape, and this is kind of like an old school graffiti thing. Doesn't happen so much, I believe, nowadays, but way back when you got into, say, the graffiti game, your name that you have or that you use was generally given to you by the guy who mentored you. So there was always someone before you who showed you, say, how to rock letters, how to do colors, or what have you, and they would inform the process of giving you a name. So I had a number of names before, they were all whack, horrible, and so my given name is Edward, right? And so
the government name.
My government name is Edward.
Okay.
And the thinking was that your tag name, or your writer name as it's called, was your alter ego, right? And so we sat in the lab one day and was like, well, since your given name is Edward, but you are escaping from Edward, let's use the word escape, but drop the E. Right? So then it's the word Scape, and we liked the way that it sounded, because when you hear it initially, you'll wonder, like, what is that?
Right.
And so over time, we made it stand for Screaming Creative and Positive Energy.
Dope.
Love it.
But, it's also a science in the sense of how the letters work with each other, so that plays a role in a graffiti artist's name, how you write it. What does it look like when it's written? What does it sound like when it's spoken? Does it sound combative? All of those things play a role in deciding, what your name is, and also how long does it take to write?
Right.
Like if you're doing unsolicited public art, you may not want to write the words Mr. Fantastic. It may take too long.
Get in and get out.
So, yeah.
Well, it has a lot of positive energy. Scape.
Yeah, because I try to focus in that lane simply because for me, it's bigger than, say, graffiti art per se. It's more about sharing your creativity with people who want to know about your creativity. It just happens that for me, that vehicle early on was graffiti. You know, it has morphed and grown into other dimensions these days, but at heart, you know, that's where this drive comes from. You know.
When did you first, I guess, discover that you had a gift for drawing or graffiti?
Well, I've always been an artist since I was a kid. I mean, and I mean that like literally. So before I got into, say, the graph world, I was drawing obsessively on my own. You know, I like to say that art, period, just saved my life. You know,
Wow.
a little bit of story about me is that, like, when I was born in Jersey, but moved to California at a young age. But when we moved to California, specifically the San Francisco Bay Area, I didn't speak English, right?
Oh,
And so there
Fran
was
doesn't
a
either.
definite
Tapping alone doesn't speak either.
that's right.
No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And so there was a definite, say, challenge in that lane, because I think folks were kind of confused that how's this brown kid not speak English, because I only spoke Spanish at the time.
Okay.
You know, so growing up had its social challenges, and also economic challenges, because my folks moved out to California to pursue, you know, the classic story, better life, and things of that nature. But we had economic challenges, and I remember vividly using some of my mom's makeup for art supplies.
Wow.
And I'm very young, right? But I remembered I had that aha moment where it was like, Mom's nail polish, those are little paintbrushes in there.
You're
Wow.
Right? So I can cop some of that good gold over there and you know, finish this little painting I got going on this milk carton box. So I would borrow her mascara, you know, whatever nail polish I needed or what have you. She was not a fan, you know, but those were my early days in art. And I mean, and so basically it was like, you know, I got my art supplies however I could, you know what I mean? And that kind of grew into kind of like this young early hustler's mentality in order to cop art supplies and stuff. But I always had this desire to just create, make stuff.
Now, in your early childhood, was there like an art school that you probably went to, or did anyone else in your family realize that you're kind of like this art protege with nail polish and makeup?
Or was the streets your art school?
It at the first portion of the question, the answer was no. Quite frankly, my folks didn't know what to do with me. You know, when I was a kid, I had taken, like, they used to do these IQ tests. So allegedly, I had a high IQ, and that was
allegedly
compounded with the fact that I was just obsessively, you know, drawing and painting on everything in sight. And that was before I got into what we call graffiti in the sense now. And back then, I clearly remember I was in junior high school, walking by high school, and I saw a burner on the side of the wall, and I was like, "What is this?" And my friends were like, "That's that New York-ish." And I was like, "Wow, that's that New York-ish." And this was before, like, right before hip hop came to the West Coast, as we call it now. Like,
right.
You know, the West Coast was doing its own thing in the street and whatnot, but that New York thing of letter modification, it came out, and then I saw a few documentaries on TV, and it was a wrap. It was a wrap after that.
Wow.
What do you think has taken graffiti art to the next level to make it become so popular?
It's cyclical. For one thing, it's cyclical, but also I think that it's like a lot of things that happen, and this is, you know, my observation, but it's a lot of things that happen, cultural expressions that come out of, say, the, you know, communities of color, you know, where forms of expression are birthed there, forms of voices are birthed there that may not have a voice.
Mm-hmm.
And then over time, someone comes out of there that keeps it, say, extra real, but then also someone comes out of there that can cross over to mainstream.
Now, where do you feel you fit in?
Or
is there a place to fit in? Maybe you are an out of a box type of artist, and
you don't want to fit in.
Right.
I think that I made certain choices years ago. One of the choices that I made was that I recognized that a lot of cats who have backgrounds in graffiti art, when they jump to the other side, they may do, say, explicitly figurative artwork that has an identifiable human figure in there, right? Or they do work that is explicitly pop art, something that is identifiable that the viewer can relate to,
mm-hmm.
that is still street but also accessible, right? And for me, the choice that I made is I wanted to be the guy that is known for color, because I've always used color in a very unique way in my entire life.
Yeah, Tapping Along was talking about the color that you used. She's a fan on your Instagram account, and she loves the bold and unapologetic use of your color.
It is. Looking at your work is like sitting back with a glass of wine and reading poetry. I mean, your color is movement, it's energy, and it's so powerful.
Are you looking for a job?
Yes.
I could use that language, But one of the things that I felt, and thank you for that commentary, is that I have felt long ago that I would be able to talk to people from any walk of life, from any background. That person does not need to know English or Spanish, and they could view my artwork and walk away with something.
Yeah.
And the way that I approach my artwork from the studio is kind of like writing, meaning I write a story, but I don't finish it. I want the viewer to look at it and say, oh, he did X, Y, Z, but I see A, B, C, and D.
Right.
And ideally, every time you look at a work, you see something different.
Right.
Because I feel, and again, this is just my opinion, is that I feel that my abstract work is a visual representation of deeper philosophical and spiritual principles.
Yeah, you're deep, man.
That I don't even necessarily understand or can verbalize, but it's something that is there.
There's an energy within you. And when I look at your paintings, that's what I see. I see the energy. And sometimes it's full and powerful, and it's amazing. I mean, when do you think, what was the turning point for you in your work? When did you become this?
Scape.
Yeah. When did you become Scape? When did people start to recognize your work? When did they want to? When was your first commission?
Mm-hmm. Murals. You've done a lot of murals that are gorgeous.
I mean, I don't know if I could authentically answer that question because like, where do I draw the line between work that lives in public? I mean, I've been doing that forever, right?
Right.
And because sometimes it's paid, sometimes it's explicitly paid for.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, the further back I go, I didn't ask permission,
right.
But the thing was, even back in the early days when I really was exploring abstract work in the illegal graffiti space, it was challenging for people like my peers to kind of reconcile like what I'm doing, because it was like, bruh, you're not really doing graffiti. You're doing something different. And I chose to do something different, And, part of one thing I've learned over time is I do not try to dictate where the artwork goes or where it belongs. I let the artwork just go do what it needs to do. So, like in the last few years, I've done digital prints that are, melted into sidewalks. I've done, steel structures wrapping around buildings. And, I do very unique work. And I don't say that like to toot my own horn.
No, you can toot your
You
horn.
should.
I'm willing to do that. Like, I'm willing to go into spaces where I think other artists do not want to go or can't go. And, you know, it's, I don't know, it's one of those things.
So where would someone go to see your artwork or your latest project?
Probably on the internet.
Okay.
But in your Bay Area, well, even from looking from the internet, there's like a Roosevelt Community Center that I saw,
Right.
some murals in there, and I was told that you're working on another project that's up and coming. Can you speak upon that? Because that's that's for the highways, I believe, right? The highway project.
Yes, I am doing a pretty mammoth project. Let me say that again. I'm doing a pretty mammoth project called the Gateway Project.
Okay.
And what that is we are reimagining 3 freeway underpasses. No, not freeway underpasses. Well, yeah, they are, because actually, let me take that back. We say freeway, y'all say highway, correct?
Yeah.
Right.
Highway underpass.
Okay, so,
yeah, highway. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the highway goes over the street, and, you know, that underpass area, and there's 3 of them that I'm reimagining. But the uniqueness of the project is I'm not approaching it as, say, a mural. I'm approaching it as how do we reimagine space, and it's big. It's about one location is about 2 blocks, 2 blocks long, or eight lanes of highway.
That's massive.
4 going one, 4 going the other way, and also doing this via community engagement. So for this project, I've done probably 30 different points of interaction with the community, which is everything from visiting high schools, community centers. I did a graffiti workshop with seniors, working with youth, working with, say, other managers, stakeholders, everyone having their voice in the project.
Mm-hmm.
But the key issue with this project is it's not a standalone piece. So what that means is I wanted to have life before and after the work is done. So in one way, like, I visited a high school, talked to some kids, and they were like loving the work. And then they were like, hey, like, you're visiting these schools and getting us all amped up for this project. You're building an art army. So I was like, that's a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
So I went back to their teacher and I said, I want to do a T-shirt design contest, and it's going to be the Eastside Art Army T-shirt design contest. And we're going to get the city to print up 1,000 of these T-shirts, and whoever participates in this project gets a dope shirt that the kids design. So it has legs. The kids have an experience. This is something that they're going to walk with. They're going to be like remembering this, and it's not, you know, the foreign artist imposing his will on a space. It's more a collective thing that everyone buys in, right? And guess what? It doesn't get tagged, because even the taggers, I'm going to engage them and be like, look, you're going to be a part of this, and nobody wants to disrespect the space.
Right.
Now. It's a sacred space. Now everyone has ownership of it.
Wow.
And when they walk by, if there's a tin can on the floor, maybe they pick it up and throw it in the trash.
Wow.
So you're not only bringing beauty to the world, you are helping, you're giving back to your community.
And bringing the community together.
And giving these young people a sense of, well, confidence and an appreciation for their own work. That's powerful.
Exactly. And the thing is, it's not about that they have to be artists. It's about that, A, you're a young person, your voice has value, you have value, you can claim a part of this universe as yours, you know? And I think that ability to have agency and to have self-efficacy, to walk away with the can-do spirit, you can't put a price on that.
Right.
So if you had to say something to young people that are listening that want to follow in your footsteps, what advice would you give to them?
Stay true to yourself. As corny as it sounds, or even as tired as it might be, haters are going to hate, and let them.
Right.
You know, to some degree, and again, this might sound corny, but believe in something bigger than yourself. Because for me, early on in life, that something bigger was what I call just that energy. And if I could tap into that energy, I could create obsessively, nonstop, you know. But I have to, and this might sound hokey, but it's like I can't be in the flesh when I do that. See? And when I'm in that lane or in that space, when I finish one painting, I probably got 2 or 3 in my head ready to go. So I'm always playing catch up with myself.
How long does it take you to paint something like the Tupac painting and the what's the woman name? Rehab. Amy Winehouse. How long does that? I know.
They took a couple of weeks.
Okay.
But they took a couple of weeks more so just because of the process. You know, they both had 2 different types of processes to create, you know, to be done or how to get there. But I think I create pretty quickly. You know, if I'm doing, like, say, a spray can mural or something, I'd usually knock that stuff out in hours or a day. I don't like going back to stuff unless it's like part of the mechanics of it all, you know?
Okay.
And you chose 2 artists that their entire lives were just full of controversy. Why did you choose them? Why did they speak to you?
Pac, at the time, you know, when I did that was a while ago, but he had done an interview for Vanity Fair, and that image was based on a photograph from that interview, and I tore it out of the magazine, and I was like, man, we ain't doing this, and I crumpled it up and threw it away. And one day I reached into the trash and I looked at it, and I liked the way that his face looked crumpled up, actually. And I said, try this. And so I painted it.
Right.
You know? I think subconsciously I have an issue, like I'm attracted to drama or something like that, right? But maybe there's a sense of like kindred spirits of sorts. With Amy Winehouse, I chose her simply because, like, through the process, it was like I wanted to do something that was iconic, but I wanted to treat that image like my way. And like part of that specific image is not necessarily finished, that project, because I have these copies of it that I'm going to screen print.
Okay.
And the continuation of that is going to be the screen printed version that I'm going to treat like a canvas a certain way and then screen print them like over and over again. So it's going to be more about that accessible multiplied image, you know? But that piece in and of itself is like the original.
Wow. We got to wrap things up, but before we wrap things up, I just want to let people know I can't draw to save anyone's life. I really wish I had the gift of art.
I disagree with you.
Let me tell you, on my mother's side, my brother Tyrone can draw. My mother can do a little dabble. Me, not so much. I got the Tim side of it. Well, I'm hoping once I pick up your graffiti books, you can I can learn from them, because you have like 4 out now, right? Will those teach me how to kind of like trace and draw and create?
It will, but I will say this is one of the things that I believe, which is if you can write your name, you can create art. That's the first rule that I have.
Okay.
If you can write your name, you can create art. The second thing is, you know, you can say that you can't draw, right? But I will say that you can.
Okay.
Now the challenge may be you may not feel comfortable drawing representationally. That's fine. That's why you got a digital camera. Don't nobody want to see none that looks like that. They want to see you.
Okay.
Not that.
I'm gonna send you over a stick figure, and you give me your critique on that.
then I could say, look at Keith Haring.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, it is. It is subjective. Uh,
Absolutely.
yeah. Well, I know that you will be coming up to the Bronx area because you've been commissioned to do a mural here. So I look forward to meeting you, and want to say thank you for being a part of the Daily Dime podcast, man. I really appreciate it.
It has been wonderful speaking with you, and I'm going to continue to follow you and put the word out about you. You are tremendous, and you do not live life in a box, which is what I really like about you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think I have a PR person.
I think you do too. Tapping along. Cue her up some tap music. Where's the tap music at tapping along? Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
My sound bites do not want to work. They never want to work for me, Jesus. But anyway, thank you for being a part of the Daily Dime podcast, and we will see you when we see you.
Living the light.
And I'm humbled to be in your guys' presence, and thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, there's tapping along. There's her tapping along music. All right, be cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.